Hey everybody, I am a few minutes late. So I apologize for that, but let's get everybody a few minutes to hop on and then we will go ahead and get started tonight. Does that sound good? All right, so I'm going to invite my friends, you invite your friends. Got a little bit of a different view there. Oh, not with that, nope. Moving you all around tonight. So let's see, let's get everybody invited. Here we go. Yes. We want to invite all of our friends so they know that there is a great place where they are able to just receive support and care and a safe place to be whenever they've got questions. So we're just going to invite a handful of people. I want you to do the same. Go ahead and invite out your friends, share this, and we will then get started. All right. How's everybody doing tonight? Hey, Michelle and Shelly and Jana, it's good to see you, and Paula. As you can see, I'm sporting a new haircut. What do you think? It was something a little bit I've been contemplating for a while. I just felt like I needed a change and felt like I needed something more in 2018. So I did the whole thing, like shave the head and all, right? This is all shaved. How cool is that, right? I am proud of myself for like jumping out and doing that. Thank you so much, Jana. Thank you. I really appreciate it. So the bangs are going to grow out like they are supposed to grow out long. And they're going to grow out, down this way. So they kind of swoop. But, the fact that I shaved my head was kind of cool. I was proud of myself. Hey, Christy. Hey, Jeff. Hey, Susan. It's great to see everybody. And again, I was a few minutes late and I apologize for that. I was setting up my equipment and just was talking with my husband and, we were talking about just some different options we have and wanted to just take a few extra minutes with him. So I apologize that I was late. So it is great to see everybody. Hey, Michelle, thank you so much. I appreciate you joining tonight. How's everybody doing? How's your week going? I know some of you have had some crazy weeks, right? Shelly, you were in Boston. You did some great things in Boston. And I know, Denise, you moved. So you have a brand new home. Welcome. I'm so excited for you in your new home. Hey, Kelly and Jean, it's great to see you. How was everybody else's week? Oh, Kelly, thank you so much. Yes, I was just saying I shaved it. I shaved it. Isn't that crazy? I know. I thought, am I too old to shave my head? Like, yeah, no. Totally not. And as I was getting it cut, I thought, I really want to go get a tattoo. Like I may go straight from the haircut place and get another tattoo. That's totally how I was feeling. So thank you, Kelly. It's a lot of fun so far. I think that it's growing on me. It's very different, right, for me. But it's something for the summer that's going to be a lot of fun. Oh, thank you, Kelly. That was the goal. The goal was to be edgy yet classy, right? To still be able to be in my 40s and embrace my 40s with some edge. So, so anyways, welcome Kathleen and Jim. Daniel, it's great to see you. And Carolyn, great to see you as well. Carolyn, you have been on my mind over this past week. I have said many a prayer for you and your daughter. I would love to know how this week went with your daughter, how things are going. I know parenting can be such a challenge. I know for me, I have my own challenges with a 15, 16, and 17-year-old. Those teenage years can be really tough at times, but what I'm learning is that, as they grow and want their independence, finding ways to give them to them that's safe and that they can learn and grow too is really important. And sometimes as a mom, you've got to be strict and you've got to put down your foot. And a lot of times I struggle with that. Believe it or not, I struggle with being strict with my kids. I have a lot of divorce guilt that I struggle with. Just a level of guilt because I made the choice to divorce that I worry about my children. I worry multiple reasons. So oftentimes I'll give in to them as a parent because I feel like I hurt them by, choosing a divorce. So what I'm learning though, as they're in their teenage years, is how important it is for me personally to work through that divorce guilt so that I can raise really productive and healthy kids. Even though I'm a therapist and I can teach you how to do that, sometimes I struggle too. I'm human too. Sometimes my emotions get the better of me and I give in. and I'm not as strict as I need to be. So hey, Suzanne, Amanda, Rob, and Wendy, it is great to see you guys. Thank you so much for joining tonight. We're talking about parenting and the challenges of parenting a teenager. How many of you have teenagers or have raised teenagers and have gone through those years and the challenges of those years? How many of you are divorced and remarried, or divorced and single and raising your kids, and perhaps have struggled with divorce guilt at times? I think it's really common. It's just learning how to work through it. And as I was talking with my therapist today about it, she was truly sharing that, look, when you feel guilty disciplining your children or saying no, remember that it's a bigger decision. It's not just a 15-minute decision when you feel tired, but it's more a 15-year decision. So what that means is that when I make a decision to say, hey, there's no consequences that you didn't do what I asked because I'm too tired, that it affects them long term. That your children are actually learning how to manipulate you and the system, and you're teaching them how to. So I thought that was pretty big to hear today with my therapist. And I wanted to share that because I think it's true. Whether we're raising teens or we have younger children, or if our children are our pets, it's still really important to set those boundaries and teach them the importance of respect, follow through, consequences to their actions, because there's a bigger picture in mind for sure. Hey Shannon, it's great to see you. Henriette and Julio and Kathleen. If I ever butcher people's names, I am so sorry. It's not my intention. I definitely want to make the very best effort to pronounce your name properly, but if I get it wrong, please forgive me. I love to recognize that you're in this space. So as always, it's Tuesday night at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where you have the opportunity to shine, where you are the guest and you get to ask any question you want, whether it's parenting, relationships, sex, or career. Perhaps it's on emotions, anxiety, depression, bipolar disorder, whatever it may be. This is your opportunity to ask a therapist live and receive an answer to your question so that you may lead a life that is full of joy, peace, and the ability to serve and give back. So as you have questions, please, as always, put them in the comment section. Send them to me in direct message, whether that's on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, or you can send me an email. You can also text me if you have my cell phone number. You're welcome to do that as well. So we do have some questions that I received across the week. I will go over those too, but I also wanted to check in and let you know that, like I said, every Tuesday that I'm here, but I want to let you know too that if there's something you're experiencing between our times together, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. Reach out to me and ask a question or ask for resources or allow me to guide you in some way. There's not a fee for that. I am here for you to serve you. And if I feel like, gosh, I need to charge, then obviously we'll have a conversation. But outside of that, I had 6 people come to me this past week after our time together and just reach out and had additional questions about divorce, anxiety, managing child behavior, about their wife and some concerns that they have. They were able to reach out and we processed it just in a matter of a few minutes to support them. So please don't hesitate to do that. I welcome your questions and I welcome the connection. I'm here to serve you. That's why I do this each and every Tuesday. So, hey, Amy and Shonda, it is great to see both of you as well. So if you have questions, go ahead and ask. Carolyn, you're most welcome, sweetheart. Thank you for your vulnerability, and I will continue to pray for you and your daughter. I do hope you have seen some improvements this week, whether it was just something we discussed here, a matter of time, or a meeting with somebody within your community to help and support you and your daughter. I really do hope that you're starting to see a little bit of relief. It certainly is work in progress. Hey, Anthony, it's great to see you. And Cameron, it is great to see you as well. Thank you for joining tonight. So feel free to ask your questions in the comment section. So before we get started, I wanted to share with you some really cool things that happened this week as well. And I've told you about my podcast, Unsung Heroes Live podcast. And the premise of the podcast is to interview people who are just like you, who have struggled from time to time with mental health issues and have now come out the other side. And that can be something very basic as, depression, anxiety, just a light issue with it, to something very gripping and heavy, depression for multiple weeks, months, addiction. It can be anything. But when I interview the people, we talk about their journey to greatness. And it is such an inspirational podcast. I have been getting such great feedback, not only from the guests, but from people listening to the podcast. It's been such a blessing. And I'll tell you, it was on my heart for a long time to do podcasts, but I just didn't have the guts to do it. I was just fearful that no one would want to be interviewed, or perhaps I wouldn't be able to make the commitment to it, or perhaps it'd be something I would start and I would quit. So I actually just didn't really believe in myself and have that confidence to create this podcast to move forward. But then I met Anthony, and Anthony is with us tonight, Anthony Fries. Anthony is with us tonight, and he had asked to interview me on his podcast. He actually has a video podcast, which is very, very cool. And after he asked me, I was touched, first and foremost, that Anthony would want me on his. His are excellent, so please go find Anthony's podcasts. They are amazing. Not only does he do an amazing job with production and editing, it's very professional, but the content is priceless, and it will help you grow personally and professionally. But after Anthony interviewed me, he inspired me, and he said, you can absolutely do this. All you have to do is get started. And I said, I don't know, Anthony, I don't know if I can do this. And he said, you can, just get started. Don't put it off anymore. And so I did. I jumped in with both feet, and really trusting that Anthony, whom I didn't really know all that well, could actually see something in me that, maybe I was able to do that. And let me tell you, it has been such an incredible journey, not only for guests, but for me as well. And I get butterflies in my stomach every single time someone agrees to be interviewed. And it's just wonderful to hear stories. And I know Shelly can relate to this. She's got a podcast too. So thank you, Anthony. Long story short, thank you for your inspiration and for having confidence in me to do the podcast. We have so much more coming. I did sign with C-Suite Network. I signed with them last week. Some of you knew that. Some of you knew I was contemplating and thinking about it. It's been a process, a long process of prayer and consideration and talking with my husband. And I made the decision that I felt like it's where God wanted me. So I did sign and am working on my profile. So that's going to give a ton of coverage to the podcasts. So I want you to join me. And if you want to be interviewed and you're willing to be interviewed, head over to christyknights.com and click on my schedule and sign up. I would love to interview you. Welcome, Sherry and Dana and Caesar. It is great to see you here today. So our first question of the evening is, let me pull this out. Okay, this comes to us from Facebook, a direct message, and he writes, thank you so much for the work that you do. I love seeing you on Tuesdays. You're most welcome. I have a quick question. My wife and I would love to increase our relationship and make it healthier. What is your suggestion? We have 5 children. 5 children, and you want to enhance your marriage. Well, good luck. No, of course not. So thank you so much for that question. I think it's a great one. Debbie, great to see you. I think it's a great question. Thank you so much. So what he's looking to do is, how can he build a healthier marriage, continue to have a stable, sustainable marriage? How can he have a deeper, more intimate marriage while raising 5 children? That's always a good question for any of us, let alone someone who has 5 children, right? So what I'm going to encourage you to do is first acknowledge that life is a little crazy. Give yourself some credit. Life is crazy when you're raising any children, let alone 5. Wow, 5 blessings, good for you. What couples do most often is, no matter how hard you try when life gets busy, you forget. You forget to make each other a priority. You forget to make yourself a priority, and you forget to make yourselves as a couple a priority. So what happens is you get wrapped up in life and then distance grows between the two of you. And before you know it, you have nothing to talk about. And you're sitting there looking at each other wondering, how did you get here? The best thing you can do in a marriage is from day one, or the day you realize that you haven't been cultivating your marriage, is to cultivate it on a daily basis. So what does that look like? Well, there are some ways that you could kind of have a cheat sheet with this. There is an app called Love Dares, and it's on all of our smartphones, whether you have an Android or an Apple. It's called Love Dares. It is an amazing little app that reminds you on a daily basis to take care of your spouse. Yeah, how cool is that? It sends you a daily reminder and it tells you exactly what to do. So for people who are not quite as creative or romantic as perhaps you want to be, it will tell you exactly what to do. And it can be something simple, like look at your spouse in the eyes and say, I love you. Or touch your spouse on the arm and remind them why you're married to them. Something very simple but powerful in a relationship. So Love Dares is one way you can cultivate your relationship on a regular basis if you forget. The second, without a doubt, always, always, always date. It is one of the first things that go to the wayside. Oftentimes young couples who begin to have a family or who are already in family mode are stretched to the dollars, right? It's expensive to raise children. So oftentimes the first thing we do is stop dating one another and taking that money. But let me tell you, when you begin to or rekindle that dating relationship, that cultivate and feeds. How often? Well, I'm not going to be a real stickler, but my recommendation is once a month. If you're able, as your children get older, to move to once a week, trust me, when they're teenagers, they don't want to be with you. So when they're out at football games, that's your chance to grab a pizza and a beer, or just have a pizza and Coke or water, whatever you choose, or something simple like dessert at the local restaurant while they're at the football game. You cultivate that relationship, making each other a priority, right? And that's really important, whether it's once a month or once a week. You make a commitment to do that, because in the end, when your children leave the nest, and some of you are already aware of this, right, Paula? When you leave the nest, all you have is each other to look at. So you want to know that it's solid and that you are head over heels. The highest divorce rate is when you're in the empty nest. That's the highest divorce rate right now. The second highest is when your children are little, and it's the most stressful. So cultivating is really important. So let's say, hey, you really feel like you can't go out and date. You feel like you don't have the money. It costs nothing to take a walk. It costs absolutely nothing to take a walk together. Walk the dog. Buy a dog to walk so that you have that carved out time. Or sit on the porch. My husband and I carve out almost every night from 9 to 10, 9:30 to 10:30, somewhere around there. We carve out that time just to connect with each other. And we have to do that on a daily basis and make that intentional. If life becomes busy and we don't do that, by the end of the week, we are irritable with each other. I'm telling you, we start to get snippy and impatient because we need that connection with each other. We need to remember and appreciate one another. So not only with an app, date night, spending time together, but how about this? Something very simple. Hey, Justin, it's great to see you, Natalie and Nancy. And it's great to see you as well. Something very simple in a relationship to cultivate it is to ask, how was your day? How was your day? 4 simple words that every woman wants to be asked. How was your day? We like to know that you are invested in what we're doing, whether we're stay-at-home moms or we are out in the workforce. We want to know that you value what we do. It helps a man also feel very validated whenever they talk about their day. Now, let me remind you, sometimes we don't always want to talk about our day right away. I'm totally one of those people. If I walk through the door and my husband says, how was your day? It's always going to be, it was fine. I have no desire to talk about my day because I have been talking for 8 to 9 hours. The last thing I want to do is talk about my day. However, By the time I unwind, we spend our time on the swing, we've had dinner, now I'm ready to talk about my day. Now I'm ready for you to ask me again. And that's often what he does because he knows. He knows that I need a little extra time. So perhaps your spouse is like that too. If they don't respond favorably, or they don't say, oh gosh, this is exactly what happened, and want to give you all the details, it's okay. Take a deep breath. It's not personal. And give them some space and time and ask again. And then allow them to have the opportunity. Most often, we don't give our spouses the opportunity to share about their day. So, hey, Trish, great to see you. So that's really important to ask about your day. So these are some simple ways that you reconnect with your spouse and cultivate that relationship despite raising 5 children. This is just a tip of the iceberg, but these are just a few easy things that you can do. So just to recap, hey, Katie, it's great to see you. And Scott, great to see you as well. So just to recap, in order to cultivate a marriage, in order to cultivate that relationship, there are multiple things to do. You can download the app Love Dares, really simple way. It gives you the cheat sheet on how to do it and a reminder every single day. Dating, asking each other, how was your day? And then carving out 10 to 15 minutes to an hour that you can just sit and talk, that you can connect with each other. This can be your commutes into work with one another on the phone. This can be in the morning for breakfast. If you've got small children, your mornings are chaotic, your bedtimes are chaotic, so perhaps after that. But just carving out some time to reconnect on a regular basis. So those are some quick tips on how to cultivate your marriage. Again, if you use them, it works. Staying connected is really, really important. The last tip I'll give, just to bring it home, is it's very, very important that if you notice distance in your relationship with your spouse, your partner, it is really important that you call it out and get the help and support you need. Whether that's through a therapist, a marriage coach, your church, whatever that looks like, as soon as you see or feel an issue within your marriage, call it out. Don't be afraid. The sky will not fall. And go get the help and the support you need. It's essential. Miranda, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Yes, Katie, I got my hair cut today. I wanted something different, a little edgy, and I got the sides shaved. How about that? Thank you, Katie. I appreciate the compliment. A little bit different for me, but I wanted something fun. So I hope that helps. Marriage is so critical in a healthy life to have that joy. And if you're not finding that joy in your marriage, finding ways to either get that joy within your marriage or finding ways to leave the marriage, if that's where you feel that you're at. So I'm going to go ahead and scroll and see if I've had some other questions while I'm talking about marriage. I love talking about couples and marriage. Mine has been such a struggle with my past marriage, and now I'm in an incredible marriage that is very, very healthy, very stable, and I've learned so much about myself. I've learned about him and about communicating effectively. It's not perfect at all, but the difference is we're both committed. We're both committed to working on a daily basis to have a healthy marriage for a lifetime. And that makes the world of a difference when you have a partner that's willing to work as well. So again, my marriage isn't perfect, but I can tell you that it's the light of my life, aside from my kids. So Sherry, as you know, I've struggled with depression for a while. I have been in therapy and on meds. I'm so tired of struggling. I just don't know what to do anymore. So Sherry, we talked about this last week too. I appreciate your vulnerability and I appreciate you sharing. So share with me what you did over this past week based on what we shared last week so I can direct you. Tell me, did you take the advice that I shared with you? Did you apply some of the principles that I talked to you about? Share with me what you did differently this past week based on our information from last week so that I can help and direct you in a way that is useful and not repetitive to you. So whenever you have a chance, go ahead and share it. You can share it on the comment section. You can text me. You can email me. You've got lots of ways to reach me. So let me check social media as you guys are thinking about another question that you may have. I want to make sure that I don't have other questions on social media. Remember, please share this out so your friends and family know that they have this amazing support, that they have this amazing tribe to count on We don't have anything in Facebook, nothing in LinkedIn. And let's check out Instagram. How many of you use Instagram on a regular basis? Here's what I'm learning, that Facebook is actually going to be like, I don't want to say phasing out, but Facebook's for people like my age, 40s, 50s, the millennials, and really our target audience as we grow our businesses is on Instagram. And we have to move on to Instagram and become more powerful on Instagram. I know the millennials are totally kicking butt. My great friend Christy is launching a business, and she was just learning from my daughter how to leverage Instagram. So I know that that's something that I need to work on too. So I don't have anything here either on any social media. Not a problem. What about you guys? Yes. So Sherry, you did. You helped a friend. Very good. You changed some of your eating habits. I'm very proud of you. That's tough to do. And you got additional sleep. That is awesome. Still struggling to use your skills. See, it's not going to be an overnight fix. That's what the tough thing is when we talk about our mental health. Our mental health is a journey, not a destination. It's something that we take care of on a daily basis. So many times people don't want to talk about mental health. They don't want to admit that they have an issue. They're embarrassed. They're ashamed. That's part of the work that we're doing together. Both here at Ask the Therapist Live, it's a public forum. We're trying to truly destroy the stigma of mental health. And also through the podcast, the work that we do at my nonprofit, it's all directed at getting rid of that stigma so people can come forward and ask these really questions. So Sherry, I am absolutely proud of you. It's a process, and you and I both know it takes a ton of time, and this is how you get started, right? Now I want you to continue that pattern, replicate what you're doing over and over again. It could take 6-8 weeks before you notice a difference. There isn't a quick magic wand in mental health, unfortunately. I would love for that to be, although I'd be out of business. So I'm sorry that you're still struggling with skills. I know that's tough. That's the toughest part. But perhaps using a different set of skills may be useful. With your EMDR, maybe using some art therapy and journaling may be powerful too. Carolyn, someone I know is struggling in their marriage but feels as though it isn't right to divorce, although in my opinion, it would be better for him and his child. His child knows or feels he isn't liked by his stepmother. When is it okay to divorce? This person has been a longtime friend of mine, and I would like to help him. Carolyn, this is really a great question. When it comes to when do we know if it's okay to divorce? It's a very personal decision. Oftentimes when clients come to me, I will say to them, it's not my job to tell you it's time for a divorce. The only time that I do that is if their physical health is in jeopardy. So if there's an abusive situation, I will directly recommend divorce. And it takes a long time to process through because we want to be very safe. So first and foremost, an excellent therapist does not tell you when it's time to divorce. However, I know you're looking for an answer. For this person, it really is, have you tried absolutely everything possible in your mind to save the marriage? Have you gone to therapy? Have you asked this person to get therapy? When you in your mind know that you have done absolutely everything possible, then it may be time. The other piece is, what is their religious affiliation? Oftentimes, our religious beliefs will keep us within our marriage, whether it's healthy or not. So we have to examine, is it religion keeping you in a marriage? Now, this was a dilemma for me. I was raised in a Lutheran church, raised Christian, practiced being a Christian, still am a Christian. So for me, whenever I was considering a divorce, I really had to sit and talk with the pastor to look at what the church says about divorce, how to go about that and be reconciled emotionally with it. I do not believe personally, I do not believe that if we're in an abusive relationship, that God tells us to stay in it. If the relationship is causing us to be separated from God, causing us to have a strained relationship with God, there is permission, there is blessing to leave the marriage. I am not a pastor. I'm sharing you just what I believe, and I'm sharing with you what my pastor shared with me. He felt at the time that it was a stumbling block, and that learning about my faith and how to grow and have that relationship with God, and how my divorce, how my relationship, my marriage precluded me from doing that, was part of my consideration. Hey, Christine, it's great to see you. So yes, I think there are appropriate times for divorce, and I believe that God forgives. A sin is a sin is a sin. So for me to hold on to divorce as a sin, or to not permit myself to make that decision because I feel that it's not healthy or appropriate, or that it would not please him. For me, that's how I reconciled it. I definitely was asking for forgiveness, but for the divorce specifically, I felt released from my marriage. The pastor released me from my marriage as well. So, the forgiveness was more about, my lack of perhaps knowledge of what I needed to do to save it, or, any guilt that I may have had for other actions, because I wasn't perfect, of course. So Carolyn, when I advise people, it's mostly, have you done absolutely everything in your marriage to save it? Where are you in terms of religion? What do you believe is most important, in terms of religion, right? Where do you come from in terms of religion? And third, is there abuse in the relationship? If there's abuse in the relationship, yes, Paula, I agree with you. I don't believe God wants us in an abusive relationship, whether that's verbal, emotional, or physical, right? That's not what marriage was intended to be. God intended marriage to be between two people who love and serve one another and serve him as well. When that's not occurring and the trust isn't there, and as my pastor taught me, when the other person, your spouse, is not loving you as the church loves you, as you're called by the church to love, then there are grounds for a divorce. Now, working through someone's guilt, you said stepmother is involved, so that tells me you're looking at his second marriage, potentially. Carolyn, sometimes when there's a second marriage, it's really difficult to leave that second marriage, because it could be filled with shame, filled with misunderstanding, and feeling like you have failed. But the truth is, the failure lies in remaining in it if it is destroying who God wants you to be and or children, right? So really having that strength, that courage, and rallying around with a support system helps you make that decision if you're going to choose to leave the marriage. So Carolyn, that was a lot of information. I can certainly email it to you if that helps you to put it succinctly in bullet points. But I hope that helps you provide him with some information. And the reason why I say to couples is you need to absolutely exhaust every possible opportunity to save this marriage, is because I want you to be able to, one, look your child in the eye and say, I did everything possible to save this marriage. It just wasn't happening. Two, I want you to be able to sleep at night so you don't have regret or guilt. So that's the reason I say cross all your T's and dot all your I's. Dig in deep, because you want to learn how to save a marriage if it can be saved. And then looking at, from a religious perspective, if you are a religious person, how does God see it, and how do you reconcile that? I feel very much at peace about my divorce. I feel that I made the right decision. I can't say it wasn't extremely painful, both for myself and for my children. But I don't look back and regret, and I don't look back thinking that I did the wrong thing. I know without a doubt that I did the absolute right thing, as difficult as it was. It was healthier for everybody involved. So I hope that helps, Carolyn. So just scrolling through and looking at comments, I think that's really important. Yeah, Carolyn, like you said, if there's verbal and emotional abuse, it's just not healthy. And Kelly, thank you so much for your suggestion. I really appreciate that. I agree. Pen to paper is way better. So thank you. And Shannon, it is such a blessing to have you as always. Thank you so much for coming and for sharing your kind words. I appreciate it. I really feel called to be here and serve each of you. Oh, thank you, Lila, for the compliment for my hair. Thank you. Yep, Paula, you're right. And Shannon, for me, I needed that feeling of release. And to be quite honest, my family needed that too. It was important to my family that I was released from the church. Not that it was required. I mean, they weren't creating pressure about it, but they felt it was important for my faith and my walk with God to be released. And so I'm grateful that they prompted me to do that and pushed me to do that. I think that was important. See, Paula, God always places us in the right time, in the right place at the right time, right, Shannon and Paula? I'm glad it was helpful. Hey, Laura, it's great to see you. How are you doing, girlfriend? All right, other questions. As always, it is Tuesday, Ask the Therapist Live, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where you have the opportunity to ask me any question, whether that's about your career, parenting, or marriage, relationships, or perhaps it's about some sort of struggle you're having emotionally. This is a safe place. If you look at the comment section, and from what I've learned, you can only see common friends, but what I can tell you is the people in the comment section are amazing people. Each and every person on here is loving and kind, and they serve our community in one way or another, and they are here for you. Without a doubt, anyone on this page that you see tonight, anyone, if you direct message them, they would be there to support you. I have no doubt at all. These are great, great people. This is an amazing tribe. I absolutely love you. Welcome. Great to see you. Bud. All right, Shannon. So what if a church isn't supportive of a woman leaving their abusive spouse? What would you suggest? Yes, Shannon, this is a great question. So if your church isn't supportive, the first I'm going to ask you to do is to challenge the doctrine. I know that's probably rather bold, but one thing I have learned through my process of divorce is really looking at the doctrine of the church that you belong to, evaluating, is it truly what you believe? Is it truly what you see as the interpretation of the Bible? Now, granted, we aren't trained professionals or pastors, right? So we want to be careful. But whenever you question the doctrine, then I think it is important to reach out to other elders in the church or to seek people in the community that may have a deeper knowledge of the Bible and the interpretation of the Bible. So I would strongly, and I'll say this very boldly, that if a church is against a woman or a man leaving an abusive marriage, that is not a church I endorse. That is not a church that I would stay in. I'm not advising you leave your church if that's your church, but I'm just saying evaluate if it actually really is where you want to be and what you believe in. I could not support that. I could not put my money there. I couldn't put my faith there. I just couldn't. And I know that's a very bold statement, but I do not believe with all of my heart, Shannon, I do not believe God wants us in abusive relationships. I don't believe that he condemns divorce. I believe there is a time and a place for divorce when it truly is what is necessary for a healthy relationship, not only with God, but also with yourself and your children. I, in my heart, cannot imagine worshiping a God that says, if you're in an abusive marriage, stay. I just can't. So that would be my advice, is to seek counsel within the church, seek counsel outside of the church as well, and then look at what you truly believe. And if what they're speaking is truth, is it biblical truth based on your knowledge and the knowledge of those around you that have a deeper knowledge of the Bible and how it's interpreted? We see this a lot, Shannon. This isn't uncommon. Unfortunately, many churches, in my opinion, kind of mess this up. They advise women to stay, or men to stay within a marriage that's abusive because they don't believe that someone's tried hard enough, or that it's okay to leave a marriage, that, God doesn't permit it. I just don't agree, and I agree that churches do a lousy job. Not all the churches. Not all the churches, but many of the churches, in my opinion, do just a lousy job with that, Shannon. And I couldn't agree more with that. And I can tell you, Paula can speak to you very deeply about this. Paula has great knowledge about this particular area, both in terms of doctrine and how, in my opinion, churches make mistakes and they're not perfect. So she's a great one to talk to about this, Shannon, too. Yeah, you're right, Shannon. Like I said, there's a lot of women that struggle with it, and this falls true with people who die by suicide. We see the church really, really doing a lousy job with this as well. That they speak that if someone dies by suicide, that they're going to hell. A lot of churches say that. Now, some churches are getting away from that now. And I think that's just ludicrous. I think it's absolutely ludicrous. And it keeps people from receiving help and support in mental health in many of the churches. And that's heartbreaking to me. And I agree with you. I think churches that tell you to stay in regardless, they're losing an opportunity to really share the faith and help people grow and become more like Jesus whenever they close the door to those mental health issues. Hey, Shannon, it's great to see you. It's great to see you. So yes, Shannon. So it's frustrating. Other questions, other concerns, things you want to share today, questions that you have about life, about grief and loss, your marriage or parenting. How about anxiety, depression? While you're thinking of a question, I'm going to share with you that I interviewed a few people on my podcast this past week, and they'll be aired over the next month or so. One was a gentleman named Carl Willis. Carl actually works for New York Life Insurance. He works here in Pittsburgh, and he is just this incredible soul who is a caregiver for a family member with bipolar disorder and ADD. So Carl shared with us what it's like to care for somebody with mental health and how he remains faithful and positive, and how he does not burn out when taking care of a family member with mental health. Really, really cool story, and how he supports the African-American population downtown in Pittsburgh through his job. It's actually really, really cool. Part of their job is to reach $50 billion worth of life insurance to Pittsburgh families, and they're at 45 billion right now. So that is a huge number, and they're doing it. So it's incredible. Hey, Desi, it's great to see you. The other podcast I did was with a gentleman named Mark Anthony. For those of you who don't know Mark, and many may not, but Mark is a really, really cool guy. He actually grew up in Florida and became a lawyer, and through being a lawyer, really struggled with knowing which direction to go, had a lot of anxiety going into courts, and felt that he had a spiritual connection. So he is actually a psychic lawyer. Yes, a psychic lawyer that works to solve cases. And he has been on multiple television shows. He's been on Doctors, the television show Doctors, as well as traveled the globe, really just kind of saving lives. Really cool work that he's doing. Really neat guy. It was a ton of fun. He's written a couple books about grief and loss. And whenever you lose someone, how to connect with them, different ways to connect with them, to be able to feel them spiritually, to look for signs, as well as healing through grieving. He had just recently lost his father, so he is very transparent in the podcast, and it was really, really cool just to sit in his space. So that'll be coming up in the next few weeks. And of course, like always, if you would like to be part of the podcast, you can hop over to christyknights.com and sign up. I've got an awesome wait list, and it is a ton of fun. I think you'll have a lot of fun with it too. Other questions, other things that you want me to talk about tonight. As always, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every Tuesday, you join to ask questions. Whether you're here for inspiration, motivation, to be reminded that you are not alone, that no matter what you go through day to day, that you are not alone, that you are blessed with not only everybody in this space, but you are blessed with the opportunity to connect with other people, the opportunity to ask questions and share space, and to have me as an expert to serve you in whatever capacity that you need. So I am here for you not only on Tuesday nights, but you also have me as a direct message, as a friend, as a confidant, as someone who prays for you on a regular basis. So Susan, what do you got going on, girl? Can you recommend a good Bible study for me to do in the wake of a lot of life challenge? Movers here as we speak. Wow, that is a really good question. And I'm going to have to tell you that off the top of my head, I actually don't have a Bible study in terms of life transitions, but I bet you Paula does. So hey, Paula, do you have any suggestions, or anybody else out there in our tribe have any suggestions for a good Bible study for someone who's going through life transitions and moving? Please share in the comment section. Now, Susan, you know me, that if we don't have one shared, that I will certainly find one for you. And I will definitely get back to you on that. But I don't have any in particular. You know, I'll be honest with you. I actually haven't done a lot of formal Bible studies, just a few here and there. I struggle with that structure. I've tried, but I don't do very well at it. Instead, my devotion time is usually in different ways. So I definitely want to get you that, though. So Paula, if you've got one for transitioning, or Jennifer, Renewing Your Mind by Barb Raveling. Thank you. All right, very good. So we have one up there for you, Susan. Renewing Your Mind by Barb Raveling. Thank you very much, Jennifer. I really appreciate that. I really appreciate that. So she was pretty far away. She's moving to Boston. And you're in California, huh, Susan? I think you're in California. Sunny California, all the way to Boston. So any other questions? So I do have another question from someone else that direct messaged me, and that came in this week. And the question is, I'm looking for ways to add more structure into my life. How can I do this to achieve my goals? All right, so how many times do we have this intention to achieve a goal and yet we don't do it, right? We either miss the mark, or we get lazy, or we lack the structure. We just don't quite get it. This is really a common problem. Some of us, it's lack of motivation, procrastination, inability to find time, or just a great opener and a lousy closer. That tends to be my issue. I've got huge ideas and want to accomplish so much, and then I stumble with life when it gets busy. So we touched on this a couple weeks ago, but I want to address this question again. If you have a life goal and you want to add structure into your life to achieve your life goal, the number one way you can accomplish this is by hiring a coach. Coaches really are there to hold you accountable on a regular basis. Now, let me tell you, we can go other routes. I can tell you to use a calendar, to track your time. There are lots of other ways to be structured. And I agree, some of those totally work. However, for the majority of us, it's only going to work temporarily. And then once we get started, days get busy, and we no longer use our calendars, and we lose grip on our goals. And before you know it, we're not accomplishing it, and we're frustrated. I really encourage you to hire a coach. Coaches are incredibly powerful on multiple levels. Hey, Jenna, happy birthday, beautiful girl. You are 19. Thank you for joining, Jenna. I absolutely love you, dear. She's one of my favorite people in the whole world. Jenna. Love that girl. Anyways, hire a coach. So the first thing you might think is, oh my gosh, coaches are so expensive, right? How can I afford a coach? Well, I can tell you coaches range, and they have a big range of what they cost. Some have courses, basic courses that are automated that you just join and become a part of. I'm actually part of one of those for podcasting, right? He's a podcasting coach, so very specific. But a life coach may have the same thing. Or you could go to their office. You could work virtually. I am a certified coach. I'm more than happy to coach you. It is not insurance-based. So sometimes people get a little concerned, like, Where am I going to come up with that money? Well, it has to be a priority. It can't be about excuses anymore. You want help and you want to learn how to achieve your goals, then the best way to do it is truly to have a coach work with you one-on-one to achieve those goals. You are paying someone to walk alongside you, help you be accountable for where you may fall short, and within a time frame to achieve your goals. A good coach will truly, truly hold you to a time frame of achieving it. Now, not all goals are time constraint, right? But let's just say I want to build a website and that's one of my goals. That can be within a time frame, right? Or perhaps for you, it is I want to learn how to just know who I am, right? Know what my identity is and truly know where to go in terms of my career, right? Again, some people that's 6 weeks, some people that's 8 weeks. Sometimes it depends on the coach and how aggressive the coach is. So that one may not have a specific amount of time. But what I can promise you is every dime you invest in a very good coach, you will get back tenfold. It's a powerful experience. I'm not telling you that because I'm a coach. I'm telling you that because it works. There's evidence that it works. When people buy in to self-development and really put their money where their mouth is, you get a lot more done. You make that commitment. So in my opinion, I think it's really helpful to have a coach. Now, can you do this in therapy? Yeah, some therapists will certainly help you. If you're already my client, I absolutely help you with these kinds of things. But if you come to me and I know it's more life coaching than therapy, I'm going to steer you in that direction so you move faster. Life coaching is more assertive, more aggressive, and you achieve your goal much faster than if you were in therapy. Does that make sense? So definitely, if you want to achieve your goal and get structure in your life, the first thing you can do is use your calendar, track your time, see where you're losing your time, have someone be an accountability partner for you, or start a mini group of people to help you be accountable. I think that's possible. I think it works. And then ultimately a coach. Hiring a coach is the number one recommendation, and they vary in cost. Word of mouth is the best way to find a coach. The second way is do your research. Some will take you for a ride. Some aren't that great, but there are a few of us out there that really hit it home and will definitely help you accomplish your goals. So I hope that was helpful. Other questions? We are nearing our hour. So I wanted to read something to you as well. Hey, Angela, it's great to see you. We've been reading this book off and on. This is a great book for anybody that's struggling. One of my dear friends got this for me. Okay, so what I've been doing is just opening a page when we're here on Tuesday nights and reading it. Okay, so the one I opened to today is Grief is Tremendous, but Love is Bigger. You are grieving because you loved truly. The beauty in that is greater than the bitterness of death. Allowing this into your consciousness will not keep you from suffering, but it will help you survive the next day. So what we know about grief is it's paralyzing. Whether you've lost a friend, a loved one, a parent, a child, we know that grieving renders us powerless often, where it's overwhelming like the ocean, as if we're caught in a riptide and unable to breathe. Grief is overwhelming. But what I encourage you to do is don't move on. Yeah, don't move on. So many times people, therapists, will recommend you've got to move forward. You've got to move on. You're stuck. You can't stay where you're at. You know what? That's bull. What I mean by that, listen up. What I mean by that is I don't challenge you to forget your loved one or to move on as if life is normal again. When I say don't move on, what I'm saying is hold tight to their memories, to who they are as people, the legacy they created. Celebrate their legacy. I want you to spend time in the joy that they brought to your world. I want you to validate the pain and the despair that you're experiencing. I don't want you to shove it down, hide it, put it away, or move forward without acknowledging it. You were truly loved, and you loved truly. That is why grief is so painful, so painful. So my friends, my peeps, people I love, my tribe, hold tight to those memories. How will you celebrate your loved one's life? How will you celebrate the gift that they were during that short period of time in your life? And I say short period, whether you lost a child or you lost a father, life happens fast. We take it for granted all the time. Nothing teaches us about that as grief does. Grief smacks us right in the face with life is too short, and we take it for granted. And oh, do we waste time. We waste time. And we learn very quickly when we lose a loved one. So what that passage is saying is that, yeah, grief is painful, but it's because you truly loved and they truly loved you, that it hurts. And what I'm saying as a professional, as part of your tribe, is don't feel that you need to move forward. Instead, I want you to embrace your pain. I want you to embrace the love, the memories, everything about that person. Trust me, life continues to happen as you're learning. You will naturally move forward in whatever current God designs. It's not up to me, your friends, your family, or a professional to tell you to move forward. Because oftentimes moving forward is what causes pain. And see, quite frankly, the resistance makes it worse. Instead, honor your pain, honor your loved one, and allow the healing to happen through the blessing you have of the love that you felt for them. What an evening. So, Tyler, thank you for joining us. It is great to have you here. Carolyn, I'm so glad that was needed. Isn't it funny how we're in, not funny, but I don't believe in coincidences, do you? Isn't it interesting how oftentimes we're just in the right place at the right time to be able to hear something we needed to hear? It happens so often to me that I just say, okay, that's the Lord, right? That's the Lord, thank you. Yeah, paralyzed at times, you know, with your son is on your mind constantly and you feel blocked from having good memories and can only remember the bad and going crazy with guilt. Yeah. Carolyn, it's so common to experience that guilt, especially when you lose a child. But what I can say to you is what would your child say to you? What would your son say to you? You know, that was something interesting that Mark Anthony talked about in his podcast interview, Carolyn. I'm not sure what you believe, and I'm not trying to convince you to believe differently, but what I can share what he believed is he spoke with a family whose son had died by suicide last week, and all they wanted was an answer. All they wanted was to understand what happened, and he was able to give them that peace. He was able to give them the peace that his son wants them to move forward, and it wasn't their fault, and that there was no guilt for them to hold on to, that he had mental illness that captivated his brain and led to just a place of darkness, And so, Carolyn, I believe the same. I believe that you are not at fault, and there is really ways to release that guilt. And what would your son want you to do? What would he say? Because I know that you're an amazing mom, and I know that he loved you, that you love him very deeply. Hey, Jay, it's great to see you tonight. Yeah, Carolyn. Yeah, absolutely. The drug epidemic is consuming. And, you know, we lost a dear community member last week in a car accident. Um, and it just kind of shook the community. At least it shook me. And I didn't know Donnie well personally, but he had a history of drug addiction. And Carolyn, I don't know if you saw that live tribute that I did to him. I really wanted to memorialize Donnie and his struggle with addiction. And although he died in a car accident, there were rumors of drug paraphernalia in the car that the paper published. And I was just disgusted by it because it's not necessary. It's just not necessary. It sensationalizes a story with a man who started a nonprofit to really stamp out the stigma on mental health. He was doing amazing things in our community. So to me, it just wasn't relevant, Carolyn. And so, yeah, that ache that you feel, that yearning, I tell clients all the time, the yearning for your loved one is the last emotion to heal. And to be honest, I don't know anybody that's had that healed. The yearning lasts a lifetime. As hard as that is, we learn how to cope with it rather than it going away. And the drug epidemic is overwhelming. We have so many people that are good, that are fighting it and trying, and that's what we need to keep. That's what we need to do. And so, Carolyn, what can we do together to memorialize your son, to uphold the goodness inside of him, the true soul of who he is, because he isn't a drug addict. He isn't those things. That's not who he is. That was a piece of his life, just like any of us. But unfortunately, it was consuming. But Carolyn, I'm sure he had so many amazing qualities. I wasn't blessed to know him personally. But that's what we look at. And when the days are really difficult and you struggle to see past the pain, and you struggle to see past the pain of the loss of your son, Carolyn, I want you to fall to your knees, and I want you to just surrender that pain. And I want you to just bathe in the beauty of who he was as a man, who he was as a person. Because, Carolyn, that's what matters. That's the truth. That's the truth. The rest of it, he's healed. He's healed now. He's living a pain-free life, Carolyn. And although that doesn't take away our pain, it gives us just a little glimpse of happiness for that person. Apologize, it makes me emotional. It's amazing how moved a person can feel when you don't even know that person that has been lost, right? I've been so moved by Donnie and the loss of Donnie, and just as I talk about your son, I feel very moved. I feel moved to show you love and to know that it's going to be okay, and that you're an amazing mom, an amazing mom. Sean, it's great to see you. Sean is one of the biggest blessings in my life. If you don't know Sean, get to know Sean. Sean is an amazing boxing coach, therapeutic boxing therapist. He just makes the ground shake when he walks. He is an incredible man. So if you don't know Sean, get to know him. His services are changing lives, including my son's. And I cannot get enough of Sean's work and what he does. He's an incredible man, and God is using him in great ways. Anything else Anything else? That's right, Carolyn. Amen. All right. Well, that's all of our questions for tonight. I don't have any other questions. I'm going to scroll to double check. And we are at a little over our hour mark. Yeah. Thank you so much for being here tonight. Thank you. Thank you for taking the time to sit in our space, to share an hour on a Tuesday night. Your time is precious. It's precious to me. And I respect your time. And I am humbled that you are here. Like I've said before, please share it out. Share with your friends. Let them feel the inspiration, the motivation. Let them be reminded that they are never alone. Let them feel the warmth that we feel in this space each and every Tuesday night as our tribe gathers, as we talk together, share space. And remember, you're never alone. Hit share, my friends. Hit share. Invite your friends next Tuesday. I will be here every Tuesday night at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for your questions. Send them to me in advance. Ask live. I am here to serve you. That is the only reason I'm here, to serve you. So please, please ask your questions. Send them to me. This is a great opportunity. If you want to connect with me more than just once a week, you can follow me on YouTube. I've got a lot of great things going on YouTube. It's just under my name, Christy Knights. You can follow me on iTunes with all the podcasts. You will see the podcasts exploding with C Network very soon. C-Suite Network is what I joined, and I am making waves, and it's going to be awesome, and you are coming along with me. So you can connect with me there, Instagram, Facebook, you name it. Connect with me and share out this video. As always, I will see you next Tuesday night at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for Ask the Therapist Live, where you, my friend, you are the rock star, you are the guest, where you can ask anything and receive inspiration, motivation, and a place where you are completely unconditionally loved and reminded that you are always, always loved. Have an amazing evening. Good night.